This is our presentation for the CS2316 project, Phase 3, by Srivi and Hathwar, David Strasberg, Drew Griffis, Cole Williams, and Tyler Sleep. The purpose of our project was to explore trends in U.S. national park data. We focused on a few key factors that we thought might influence how many people visit a park. These include the park's location, its age, its size, seasonal climate patterns, and how attendance has changed over time. We wanted to understand how each of these elements might contribute to either an increase or a decrease in visitation. And we chose this topic because national parks are at the intersection of environmental science, tourism, and public interest. They tell a story not just about nature, but how people interact with it. And we were curious to see which parks are attracting more visitors, which ones are seeing declines, and why that might be happening. Going into our data analysis, we had a few questions we were hoping to answer. We wanted to see if there was a link between climate and park visitation. For example, do hotter or wetter months lead to fewer visitors? We were also curious whether newer parks tend to grow in popularity more quickly, whether different regions of the country see different trends in park traffic over time. These questions helped to guide our analysis, and we aimed to explore all of them through the data we collected. In the bigger picture, we believe these insights could really be useful for national parks. By understanding visitation trends, park managers can better plan for staffing, resources, and maintenance, making sure parks run smoothly and are ready for the numbers of visitors they expect. For our project, we used three main datasets. The first dataset came from the National Park Service and includes annual attendance numbers from 1904 to 2025, broken down by recreational and non-recreational visits. The second one was a Wikipedia table listing key details about each park, like name, state, size, and year it was established. And lastly, we used weather data from the Open Meteo API, which gave us monthly temperature and precipitation based on each park's location. This helped us explore how climate might affect attendance trends. Before analyzing the data, we had to clean out a few inconsistencies across the datasets. First, park names weren't standardized. Some had special characters or footnotes, and capitalization varied, so we cleaned them all by converting to lowercase and removing symbols. Secondly, the visitation data had duplicate rows for some parks and dates. We removed these to avoid skewed results. Third, some CSV files had extra metadata and poorly formatted headers. We handled this by skipping those rows and standardizing the columns. Finally, some numbers were stored as strings with commas, so we converted those to numeric values to make sure calculations worked properly. Now that our data was cleaned, we began our analysis. The first insight looks at the total number of recreational visitors to national parks each year. In the chart on the right, we see a sharp upward trend starting after World War II. This makes sense. Although Yellowstone was established in 1872, the National Park Service itself wasn't founded until 1916, so visitor numbers stayed low in the early years. And also after the war, people wanted to visit the parks. We also noticed a major dip in 2020, which aligns with the COVID-19 pandemic and park closures. And from 2020 to 2024, we see a steady rebound and even growth in visitation numbers, suggesting that interest in national parks is climbing again in recent years. Our second insight looks at which parks had the highest recreational visitation in 2024. From the chart, we can see that the Golden Gate National Recreation Area had the most visitors, followed closely by the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. This information is very valuable for park managers. It helps them identify which parks face the most pressure from high traffic, so they know where to focus on improving transportation, infrastructure, and visitor education. It also helps when deciding where reservation systems or timed entries might be most helpful to manage crowds efficiently and protect the park environment. For our third insight, we looked at the 5-year average visitation from 2020 to 2024 for each national park. This helps smooth out any unusual spikes or drop caused by things like wildfires, temporary closures, or sudden surges in popularity. From this data, we can see that the Blue Ridge Parkway had the highest average number of visitors over the 5-year period. This lines up with what we saw in the 2024 numbers, where it was also among the most visited. Looking at these averages helps identify which parks consistently draw large crowds, giving us a better sense of long-term trends rather than one-year outliers. This kind of insight is especially useful for planning future infrastructure, services, and conservation strategies. Insight focuses on the geographic location of national parks across the US. We wanted to see which states have the most national parks, and the data shows that California leads with 9, followed by Alaska with 8. Other states like Utah and Colorado also rank highly, but many states only have 1 or none. This tells us that national parks aren't evenly distributed at all. Some regions offer a much denser network of parks, which can impact tourism patterns and infrastructure needs. This is a valuable insight for travel planning and regional development. States with a higher concentration of parks may need more investment in transportation, lodging, and conservation services to support both the environment and the increasing number of visitors. For our fifth and final insight, we examined how weather patterns change throughout the year at Yellowstone and how that might affect visitation. We found that temperature in winter months is typically below freezing, while summer months average over 20 degrees Celsius, making it much more comfortable for visitors. This kind of seasonal shift helps explain why visitation is much higher than in the warmer months. We also looked at precipitation, which peaks in the late winter through early summer and drops off afterwards. That pattern can influence trail conditions, road accessibility, and overall visitor experience. So this shows us that seasonality plays a big role in when people choose to visit, and it's important for park operators and planning, especially in parks like Yellowstone with extreme climates. To wrap up our project, we took everything we learned from the clean data sets and used it to explore what affects national park attendance. We broke our work into 3 phases. In phase 1, we gathered data from the National Park Service, Wikipedia, and the Open Mateo API, which gave us visitor stats, park attributes, and weather data. In phase 2, we cleaned the data. Along the way, we picked up new skills like using fuzzy matching to align park names across different sources and pulling real-time weather data directly into Python using the Open Mateo API. We also tackled messy CSV formatting using regex and numeric conversions. And then finally, in phase 3, we combine the data to find meaningful insights like how location, weather, and time affect visitation trends. Overall, this project gave us a better understanding of how to manage data-driven questions, and we hope our findings can help park managers plan for things like crowding, infrastructure, and seasonal demands. Thank you for watching.